Happy Monday, y'all. Welcome to episode 10. I cannot believe that we are already 10 episodes in, but somehow we have gotten to this point, and I just want to say thank you to everyone who has listened so far because it really does mean a lot to me. So thank you very, very much. And on today's episode, we have a couple of things on the docket. Kim K is an ambassador for Balenciaga just a couple years after their incredulous, child-centered BDSM campaign. And why are public schools so incredibly insistent on having pornographic materials in their libraries? All of that and more on today's show. As always, I am your host, Noelle. This is Just Say No. Let's get into it. Travel back in time with me to 2022, you may recall a certain campaign that Balenciaga launched that had 3 to 4-year-old children holding teddy bears that were wearing BDSM gear, if you will. I'm not sure if that's the correct terminology, but that's what it was. They posed the children in hotel rooms and bedrooms with Balenciaga merchandise all over the place, and it had a very morning after kind of a vibe to them. Overall, very inappropriate, very weird, and almost everyone was on the same page for that 1 week in 2022. Now, this is a topic that is probably the one that I am the most passionate about, and that is protecting our children. This is a very broad topic ranging from gender-related indoctrination, sexual indoctrination, trafficking, abuse, any and all of it. I'm very, very passionate about this. It's one of the things that really started opening my eyes and got me into politics in the first place, and it remains the thing that by far gets me the most fired up. And we have not one but 2 stories today that revolve around this, so wish us luck. Now, when this originally happened back in 2022, Kim K was already a mainstay for the company, and she had tweeted out stating that her future with the brand depended on their ability to take accountability and protect children and yada yada. The typical blanket statement straight from the publicist. Now, Balenciaga did apologize and remove the campaign. However, you really can't just delete a campaign like this and move on. It's like, oops, we did something incredibly weird. Can we just pretend we didn't? Because that's how it felt. That's really what it felt like they were trying to do. So we touched on Ariana Grande last week, right? And I said something that also stands here. People and brands tend to reach a certain point where they are not likely to be going anywhere. As hard as Bud Light got hit after the Dylan Mulvaney fiasco, they're still selling beers. And Balenciaga falls into this category. No matter how many people stop buying whatever it is that Balenciaga even sells, there's still going to be a huge brand. However, what this comes down to is integrity. Are we shocked that Kim Kardashian has none? Of course not. However, that is, at least in my eyes, the bottom line here. You have a mega company who made such a foul blunder that the entire country united together for almost an entire week. Only for Kimberly to come out and essentially say, Balenciaga and I have been friends for so long, and I am so excited to learn and grow with them. I am sure that Jeffrey Epstein had lifelong friends too. That doesn't mean that they signed deals with him after he got busted. I mean, some probably would have, and I'm sure some probably did. But again, integrity. Okay, so what is rather unexpected is the fact that people are actually upset with Kimberly. Now, this both surprises me and it doesn't. On one hand, I think that the Kardashian-Jenner empire is free-falling. It is in a downward spiral. People are really sick of the BBL to Ozempic, the full glam to clean girl, the overall fakeness of them as a family. They are constantly trying to market and sell something based on their appearance, and people are over it. People are done with it. However, on the other hand, when it comes to issues pertaining to children, people tend to look the other way. People tend to look the other way and just keep it moving. So this truly could have gone either way, and it is a point for society that it went this way, because people are peeved. She's not just announcing that she's an ambassador for Balenciaga and people are accepting it. There's definitely backlash, which there absolutely should be. We should not support companies who support pedophilia. And I hope that we can ultimately keep up this momentum of being disapproving of inappropriate behavior and action towards children. So unfortunately, we are staying on the topic of children for another story. This one is coming out of Wisconsin and is just another flavor of the same story we all know and have heard a dozen times, and that would be the loony left's depraved desire to have sexually explicit content in public schools. So since COVID forced children into online learning, parents started to get a glimpse behind the public school system curtain, if you will, and what they saw was incredibly jarring. Gender identity lessons, CRT, books such as This Book is Gay or All Boys Aren't Blue, just overall insisting and pushing out content and materials that are not age appropriate or have any place to be in a public school, frankly. Now, Joy Reid, the ever so pleasant, ever so brilliant, she did an interview with Moms for Liberty co-founder Tiffany Justice. Now, Moms for Liberty is a group that is dedicated to parental choice, not just in the school systems, but in government overall. And in this interview, Reid asks Justice what expertise she has to be deeming what isn't allowed to be in public school libraries. Now, the book at hand is All Boys Aren't Blue, which is a biopic from the point of view of the author and has scenes that depict him being anally raped as a child by an adult family member. Now, I don't know, you guys. You tell me. What expertise would satisfy you for someone having the right to say that they don't feel that this is appropriate material for a public school library? Now, later on in this interview, Reid brings up the possibility of a consent form. Essentially, parents can give or not give consent for their children to check out books unsupervised. Reid's point being that some parents may want their child to have access to this book, and just because other parents don't like it doesn't mean that it shouldn't be available. And this is essentially a middle ground. I personally disagree. I think that there are certain scenarios where consent forms or opt-out forms are useful, and I do not think that this is one. Cutting through all of the shit here, all of the talking points, all of the gaslighting, the bottom line is that people are to the point of trying to find workarounds, for example, consent forms, to be able to allow sexually explicit materials in public schools. That's what this comes down to. That's what is happening here. Because a depraved and twisted portion of the population wants to have sexually graphic, explicit, and inappropriate books in public school libraries, it's now the burden of the rest of the population to sign something to prevent their child from accessing it. That is ass backwards and also incredibly foul. Oh God. Okay, so I propose an alternative. How about we let the sickos who are okay with their 11-year-olds being exposed to this buy it for them on Amazon? Or go to a public library and check it out there. These are materials that have no reason to be in school. So tying this back to the original story, much like books like This Book is Gay, a school in Wisconsin has a book called Let's Talk About It, a teen's guide to sex, relationships, and being human. And when I posted about this on my other social medias, links to those down below as always, I had to blur out the majority of the content because it would have been removed for explicit material. And yet it is available in a middle school library. Middle schoolers are on average maybe 10 to 13 years old. And the graphics in this book, I'm going to give a graphic warning now. If you are a child or in the presence of a child, this next bit is highly sexual and not appropriate for young ears. So, in just the few pages that are shown, here is what is contained in this book. There are depictions on how to give yourself a hand job, including stroking, whacking it, and playing with your foreskin. And no worries, all of these suggestions are explained in great detail, just in case the 10-year-old boy reading it is unsure. And for the 11-year-old little girls, no worries. We don't discriminate over here. There are great diagrams on using your fingers in all kinds of creative ways, and also recommendations for sex toys. All available in your local middle school library. It also talks about using the internet to watch porn and discover your kinks, because again, 11-year-olds, they're just kinky little things. Excuse me while I go barf. I shit y'all not. There is a direct quote from this book that says, "A great place to research fantasies and kinks safely is on the internet." Because no child was ever sex trafficked off of the fucking internet. I'm convinced at this point that this author is not only a pedophile, but a sex trafficker. It also recommends watching interviews with your favorite porn stars and going to their recommendations as well as paying for your porn, and describes watching porn as a, quote, fun, sugary treat. Again, all found in the sanctity of a middle school library. Now, there is a reproduction section that depicts a man and a woman engaging in reproduction. There are two things to note here. One, God forbid it can't be a normal man and woman. No. This man has a prosthetic leg, because why the hell not? And two, there is a little pop-up of a girl saying, quote, "Whoa, this is not safe for work." And that is correct. It's not safe for work. So how is it safe for a middle school library? So the LGBT gremlins always get incredibly upset when this topic gets brought up, and it makes you wonder why. Why is it always this group that gets upset when people say, "Hey, can we not have porn in our public school system?" Why is it always this group going to war to defend this nonsense? But before I get into that, I do want to make the point that the content depicted in this book is heterosexual. And I still have a problem with it. Explicit content is not okay for kids, no matter what side of the spectrum it falls on, ladies and gentlemen. So, the way I see it is there are two paths. Path one is to recognize that sickos have co-opted the LGB movement and now use it as a shield to hide and protect their perversions. The other path is just to let them use it, ultimately making everyone involved look bad. So what does that mean? How does that play out? I would say look at the influx of male rapists who, upon sentencing, suddenly have jail-onset gender dysphoria and identify as a woman to get placed into a woman's facility. There are these sane people who say that this is wrong and that that person needs to be in a male facility, recognizing what this sicko is trying to do. It's called common sense. Now, on the other side, there are people who scream, "Trans women are women," and put themselves in a corner so tightly bound by the laws of their cult that if they dare say, "Hey, maybe this person is lying," they get ostracized. So I guess ultimately, at the end of the day, my piece of advice would be is if you consider yourself to be part of the rainbow community, maybe consider common sense and consider the fact that people lie, and consider the fact that not everyone has good intentions, and that maybe there are some sick, perverted people who recognize the fact that LGBTQRS has become a shield. It has become this thing that if you say, "Oh, I'm non-binary," or "I'm trans," or whatever it might be, you become essentially untouchable. And they are using that, and they're making a lot of y'all look like fucking pervs. So maybe start speaking out about that. I don't know. That's just what I would do personally. So next up, speaking of the LGB gremlins, a lesbian couple in Kansas are just devastated that the owners of the wedding venue that they wanted to use are going to let them use it and wish them well, but they just won't join the celebration because of their religious beliefs. I know. We're all confused. Essentially, it's just another case of the alphabet soup group insisting that they are victims anytime anyone says no to them, even though they're not even being told no in this case. So basically what happened was this couple had been emailing with the owners of this venue and finally got a chance to go out and look at it, and they fell in love and decided that this is where they wanted to have their wedding. And one of the women reached out to the owner and was just trying to kind of finalize things, any last minute contracts and things like that. And then they received an email from the owners, and that's what we're about to get into. But I do have questions about her version of the story, because it does seem odd that the owners would wait until the last minute to just throw this out there. But it is the only version of the story that we have, so alas. So this is the email that they received. It says, I also wanted to reach out and make sure that we had an open and honest line of communication, something we desire with all of our couples. If you decide that the barn is the location you want for your wedding, we learned that it is most fair to you to know who we are and where our heart is. In the past, doing this at the start helps everything feel so much better moving forward and allows you to make the very best decision for you. While our deeply held religious beliefs keep us from celebrating anything but the marriage between a man and a woman, we desire to serve everyone equally and do not want to keep anyone from using our building who would like to. Our hearts are to serve, regardless of race, creed, color, origin, sexual orientation, gender, or marital status, while maintaining our convictions and beliefs as well. All couples legally permitted to marry in the state of Kansas are welcome to use the barn at Grace Hill. Sharing this with you is the only way we have found that allows everyone to move forward in the most authentic way possible. Okay, so that's the email, and it sounds perfectly fine to me. I know that we often forget, but we do have freedom of religion in this country. And the owners didn't even say that they can't use their venue. They just said that they want to be open and honest, that it's not something that they celebrate. And that's perfectly okay. That's totally acceptable. Now, the couple obviously posted this online, and they said that they took it to mean that we can't legally tell you can't use the venue, so you can. And in all honesty, you have to be hunting pretty hard for your victimhood to get that message out of this email. But nonetheless, the couple posted it online stating, well, if you know of any good venues that believe everyone should be celebrated, send them my way. And of course, this post went absolutely viral, and lots of people were commenting things like, aw, you poor babies, how dare those mean, evil Christians express their beliefs, grrr! And another person commenting, they want your money, but they won't celebrate your marriage. Yeah, it's the freedom part of freedom of religion. Obviously, the couple has every right to choose a different venue. If they want to go somewhere that will hang a pride flag behind them when they say I do, power fist in the air, baby, do your thing. But I think that was the purpose of the owners sending the email, right? So that there could be transparency, so that they could make this choice if they wanted to. I also believe that there are some same-sex couples who would read that email and think, all right, well, I like the venue, so I'm using it, and that would be that. And they wouldn't need to go cry and bitch online because they don't need to be a victim to be happy in life. But they did post the email, and they played it up to the nines, saying things like, we are just heartbroken, and I've been crying all night, all because someone doesn't view the world in the same light as you. From the bottom of my heart, y'all, are you okay? How do you, get through the day? Honey bear, life is tough. Get a helmet. It is so tiring to see people crying and bitching online about nothing. Nothing happened to you. get over it. Grow up. And what's worse than all of this is that another venue reached out and is letting them use it free of charge. And it just feels like we're rewarding bad behavior. It's giving the same energy as giving a toddler who is throwing a tantrum what it is that they want. Let's recap. A couple is looking for a wedding venue. The owners say, hey, you can use our venue, but we don't agree with your union because of our religion. And then they go cry on the internet, pretend that they got hate crimed or something, and then they get a free venue out of it. Right on. So, serious question before we wrap up the show. What if, instead of Christians, the wedding venue was run by an Islamic family who send the same email, but it's because they're Islamic? I promise you this wouldn't have gotten posted online, and there is a chance that they would have still had their wedding there regardless. Because these people don't have an actual belief system. They just see a cross, or they just see a white person, or they just see a heterosexual person, and they make snap judgments. And that it's just hilarious, right? Because they're the ones saying, don't be racist. Don't be homophobic. And yet, what are they doing? As I predicted at the start of the show, this was headache-inducing, so we are going to close it out there. I really appreciate you guys listening to the show. I'm super excited that we are 10 episodes in. That feels like a really substantial number, and I couldn't have done it without you guys listening, so thank you very much. All of my social medias will be down below, as always. And wherever you are listening, please do the thing that you're supposed to do to help me out. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. If you're on Spotify, give me a rating and follow. And also on Spotify, there is now a link in the show notes. If you want to support the show, you can do that through that link. I would really, really appreciate it. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful week, and we will chat again next Monday. Bye!